Hello everyone and welcome back to Football Manager 2018 and our new experiment with Gibraltar, where we're trying to see what would happen if you gave a low-level country, or a small country rather, the perfect team in Football Manager. We also set them all to Coventry, but in the first episode they had all left Coventry at that point. There were a few comments on the last episode. The first one being that I should have extended all their contracts and kept them at a fixed date with Coventry, and I do agree with that. I thought originally that's what I'd do, but ultimately I think it'd be more interesting to see them go to the biggest clubs, get the highest reputation, and start challenging for the big competitions against each other and the big personal honours like the Golden Ball from very, very early on. And I think keeping them with a non-league team like Coventry, it's a little bit predictable because they will always get promoted and they'll always win every competition if they're all together. Whereas if we spread them out and let them do their own thing, they will be competing with each other, and it'll be interesting to see who has the most success and where. I also had comments about setting all the attributes back up to 20. Again, I think that would have been fair, but also I'd quite like to see how, because they're still, all about 17 for every single asset, how that will benefit which position the most. Because if we set them all up to 20, they're all exactly perfect in every single possible way. Now they're all kind of evenly spread out across all of the attributes. It will benefit maybe attackers more than defenders. Someone will benefit from that. And it'll be interesting to see if it gives the defenders an edge when they're going for like the Golden Ball, things like that. So I'm not going to mess with those things in future episodes. I'm just going to let them run out as they are now. They're already the best team in the world, there's no question about that. It's about what they can do with Gibraltar, a country with virtually no resources whatsoever, even in the game, and also what they can do personally, competing against each other in lots of different competitions. So last time we left off, we'd seen Gibraltar raise their rank up to equal 65th. Now the next year, 2020, is a European Championship year, so when we go forward in 1 year, the first thing we'll do is look at how Gibraltar have done in the European Championship. We will then have a look at how they've done in their individual clubs. We're going to go forward 3 years today, so at the end of this we may well see how they've done in the World Cup, but given it only goes up to about the 26th of June, I don't know if that will include the World Cup final if they get there or not. So we'll have to see how it goes over the next 3 years. Let me know in the comments though if you think they're going to win either a European Championship or a World Cup in this episode. But let's go forward 1 year and see how they did. Well, we are now in the future by 1 year, and you can see Gibraltar have increased their ranking up to 24th in the world. If we have a look at their senior squad schedule, you can see they actually didn't do that well. So we know that they qualified for the European Championship doing very, very well. But ultimately, when they got into the European Championships, they had a poor friendly campaign, then drew 2-2 with Belgium, throwing away a 2-1 lead, 2-2 with Greece, throwing away a 2-0 lead, and lost 3-2 to France. A bit of a ding-dong battle there, but ultimately Alexander Lacazette in the 79th minute, meaning that Gibraltar didn't even get out of the group stage of the European Championship, which is massively disappointing for what is the best team in the world. You can see Morgan Crowther here. If we have a look at him, he is just the best striker in the world, no doubt about that. £81 million valuation at Manchester United, 230 grand a week. But they haven't managed to get out of the group stage, so maybe winning the World Cup not going to be as easy as you might have thought. If we have a look at their senior squad and their best players in the national team, we can sort them by valuation. Morgan Crowther, currently the world leading striker. If we look at his career stats, still not getting that many goals though, which is quite interesting. If we look at his milestones and his biography, you can see he did win the Premier League, the Club World Cup, won the Champions League a year ago, so he's done very, very well. A few different competitions in there as well. No Golden Ball for him just yet though. We've got Dylan Fixter there, who plays for Barcelona. We know that he's done very well in the past. You can see he's won the European Championship with Barcelona. So Barcelona, the champions this time around, as he wins it for the first time. If we have a look at the past winners, we can also see Manchester United were beaten in the final. So those two players seem to be the main ones at the moment competing at the highest level of European football, these two Gibraltarian players. You've got Dylan Fixter for Barcelona and Morgan Crowther for Manchester United. If we have a look at the Premier League, which could be a better way to see how most of these players have got on, given they are all there, and have a look at the previous season, Then we can see Manchester United won it from Liverpool. Liverpool, of course, the team with 4 of these world-class players in there. If we look at their senior squad, you can see 4 Gibraltar players in there, a goalkeeper, centre-back, and the 2 central midfielders, both there, still under 19, those 2. And with Pep Guardiola in charge now as well, they finished second 2 years in a row. Will they finally win the Premier League? You got Manchester City, they have the other striker, not been doing that well recently, despite everything going their way with bagging one of the big strikers. Chelsea and Arsenal are there as well. But if we go back and have a look, you've got Spurs, City, Chelsea, Liverpool and PSG. None of the players moving clubs whatsoever. They're all exactly where they were last season. It'll be interesting to keep an eye on whether any of them actually do transfer to other clubs. But let's go forward 2 years now, and that will give us a chance to look in more detail at the last 3 years and how these players have done. Well, we are now a couple of years ahead and the World Cup is ongoing at the moment, so at the end of this episode I will just go forward that last little bit and see if Gibraltar did manage to win the World Cup. You can see they're top of Group F in the World Cup already, so things are off to a very good start, but I'm not going to tell you how many games they've played. You can see there are a lot of the players gaining an awful lot of value. Morgan Crowther now up to £91 million. All of the players exactly where they were before as well. If we go through them sort of one at a time and begin at Manchester United with Morgan Crowther, we can see that in his career stats, again, not the most prolific goal scorer, 27, 22, 20, 18, really not bagging that many goals, but getting a very high average rating across the season and doing very well for Manchester United. If we look at the Premier League and see who has won it, you can see Liverpool currently the champions. If we go back to that season we left off, you can see United had won it. The following year, though, it was Manchester City taking the title, Liverpool second again. This time by 1 goal, just 1 goal separating the top 2. Manchester United further back in 84, Chelsea and Arsenal finishing even just 4 points away, so a 5-horse race for the title. Don't see stuff like that very often these days. But then Liverpool, after being the second place team for so long, did manage to win the title by 2 points over Manchester United. City just 5 points behind the top, with Chelsea and Arsenal a bit further back, Spurs really struggling. And then we are up to the present day. But great to see that Liverpool have finally done it. Really, they should be dominating with 4 of the Gibraltar players in their team. I'm not sure why they've struggled so much. But you can see Morgan Crowther doing very, very well. If we have a look at Dylan Fixter at Barcelona, you can only imagine he has been winning the first division. He's been quite impressive. Not quite getting the average rating he had right at the start. But if we look at La Liga, we can see currently won by Real Madrid. Bit of an upset there for Dylan Fixter. The year before, he did get another league title. Didn't the year before that, but he's had 3 now with Barcelona. Not doing badly at all. Sean Green, who's a right midfielder, right winger. He's doing alright. Quite a few assists. Not so many goals, so 17 assists, 21. Getting around 20 assists a season. Absolutely brilliant stuff. Really helping Arsenal out. And then you've got Lautaro, who was the other player we were looking at up front. He's got 22 goals, 26 goals, 17 goals, 23, 5 that first season, although he was only there for half of it. But a very good average rating and chipping in with quite a lot of assists as well. But maybe not quite as good as Morgan Crowther, which is reflected in the fact that he's not right at the top. You've got Ross McMahon, who's the centre-back. Not a brilliant average rating there for him with PSG. If we look at his competition milestones, you can see he has won the Champions League there, a little spoiler, but he did win Ligue 1 pretty much every year from 2020 onwards, and a few cup competitions in France to go alongside that. You've got Jack Burrows, one of the many Liverpool players, getting a decent average rating, chipping in with a lot of goals from central midfield, 14 with 10 assists, 8 with 14 assists, 16 with 14 assists. That's 30 goals he was involved with from central midfield. Aaron Whitmore, the only Spurs player Not been doing that well in the league with them, but getting plenty of average ratings up in the decent sort of numbers. You've got Luke Rowe for Liverpool, the other central midfielder. He's again getting a lot of goals and assists from central midfield, but his average rating not that high really for a player as good as he is. And Lewis White, the third Liverpool player, again, really struggling, not getting the average ratings. And I think this is the impact of having the stats a little bit lowered and spread out, because, 20 is ideally where you'd want them because they're all perfect. But when they're 17, 18, they're very good, but they're not the best. There will be other players in the game that have better ratings for individual things. So, like Josh Eccles as a right back, he has 17 for finishing, but really it's stuff like his tackling, which is also only 17. There were better players than him at that. So while they're more all-rounded, they're not the best players in the game. But Josh Eccles, the only Chelsea player, doing okay on the average rating actually compared to some of the others. If we have a look at his milestones, you can see he's only really won the FA Cup a couple of times and the Carabao Cup as well, but otherwise not having the best time with Chelsea. And finally you have Tom Bilson, the lowest rated in terms of valuation, but he has done okay for a goalkeeper, getting about that 7-point rating for them. But what we really want to have a look at now is the Champions League. We can know that PSG have won it, but who else have taken it home in the last 2 years? It's also gone to Manchester United, so Morgan Crowther really leading the line there, getting another Champions League win. And if we drop down to the Europa League, we can see Arsenal have won that. So they're one Gibraltarian player, I can't remember his name. If we have a look, Sean Green, valued at £75 million. We look at his milestones. He's now won the FA Cup and a Europa League. Not the best silverware in the world, but we do want to have a look at the Golden Boy Award if we can. We've got Golden Boot, European Golden Boy. Who's been winning this? It should be all Gibraltarian players, but it's actually not. We've got Belgian there at 19 years old, an Argentinian at 20. We had Sean Green was the only other Gibraltarian to actually win it, and I think now they might all start to be getting a little bit too old to actually win the award. So you've got Dylan Fixer at Barcelona and Sean Green, two of the rising stars from Gibraltar, winning the European Golden Boy, but nobody else taking it home since. And I imagine that will probably be the case for the World Golden Ball if we have a look. And you can see they haven't won it the last 3 years. They've never won it. Kylian Mbappe the last 2 seasons, taking it from Ronaldo and Messi. And then Mbappe again from Dybala and Suarez. None of them taking home the World Golden Ball, which is absolutely incredible that they haven't managed to do that. Because they really, really should. But they're not hitting these 8-point ratings. If we have a look at Mbappe, all of them should be better than Mbappe. I don't understand why they're not getting the ratings. I mean, Mbappe's got virtually nothing above 17 except for his flair. Everything else is lower than 17. And they also don't have the current ability or potential ability that our players do. So I really don't know exactly what's gone on there. And unfortunately, my in-game editor is being incredibly temperamental, so I can't even actually get into the players and edit them to see what's going on, which is really frustrating. So I'm not really sure what's going on there. But what we're going to do now is quickly jump forward and have a look at the World Cup. So let me know how you think they've done in the World Cup in the comments before we go ahead. And also drop a like on the video while I've got you. But let's go ahead and see how Gibraltar did in the World Cup. Well, we have gone ahead, and as you can see, the team have really come into their own, and they did manage to win the World Cup at the first time of asking. In their very first game, they beat Brazil 1-0. Not a bad way to kick off a World Cup campaign. They then beat Turkey 3-0, Morgan Crowther with a goal, Whitmore and Green also on the score sheet, and then Fixter and Rowe helped them beat Iran. In the second round, they took out the USA 1-0. Michael Bradley sent off in the 83rd minute and Ross McMahon scoring immediately afterwards to knock the USA out. Then against France, you had Lautaro, the City striker, getting 2 goals after falling behind to Griezmann's goal, taking a 2-1 lead, and then Luke Rowe finishing it off just after the hour. In the semi-finals, they had a man sent off in the 28th minute against Portugal, but Morgan Crowther, the Manchester United striker, getting the goal and winning them the World Cup before finally, against Spain in the final, they won it 4-0. Annoyingly, we can't actually have a look at the fixture. I have no idea why, but a 4-0 win in front of nearly 95,000 fans at the Melbourne Cricket Ground in Australia, which is where the World Cup was moved to. But Eccles got the penalty in the 18th minute. Lautaro got one in the 20th minute. Avellano, I don't even know who that is, scored in the 69th minute before Whitmore got one late on. Who is Avellano? He doesn't even have a valuation, and yet he's scoring in the World Cup final from central midfield. What on earth is that about? And then finally Whitmore got it late on. But absolutely sensational that Gibraltar managed to win it with a player who isn't even in the game scoring late on. Avellano, he's literally got nothing going for him. I don't know what he's doing in the Gibraltar squad, but he is in there. If we look at their senior squad, you can see it's probably filling out with a few more players. There's actually nobody else in there. In their under-21s, they've got Paul Doyle, and then in the under-19s, do they have anybody there? They don't have anybody there either, so I don't understand what that person is doing scoring in the World Cup final. But Avellano did manage to get that. He's not even listed with any caps or goals, so I have no idea what the game's doing. But they've won the World Cup at the first time of asking. Can you believe that? Absolutely sensational stuff to do that. Current holders, Gibraltar. After Italy won it in 2018, Germany in 2014, Gibraltar have managed to take home the World Cup. So drop a like on the video if you enjoyed seeing Gibraltar win the World Cup at the first time of asking. Make sure to subscribe as well. There'll be another part to this in 2 days' time where we'll go forward 5 years next time. You can also, of course, follow the channel on Twitter and support it on Patreon using the links in the description, and check out the website if you'd like to. But until next time, see ya!